Well, hello and welcome back to Elden Ring. In the last episode, we basically just ran around and grabbed a whole bunch of stuff from merchants and places that we left behind, and it was pretty much a recap in and of itself, so it's not going to be included in this, but I probably will still do a recap of it in episode 37, but episode 36 is a bit of a special episode, and I had to make it special because the mod that my character is saved to, the Seamless Co-op mod, broke with the last Elden Ring update. Because of the fact that they did a lot of online play updates, it's been really difficult for the mod author to get the mod working again, but he has been working diligently. I haven't checked in a couple days, because a couple days ago was the point where it didn't really matter in terms of getting this recording out. I was not going to be able to record an entire session and upload it, but I wanted to say the mod author is working very hard to try and get it working again, and I've seen a lot of people on the Nexus forums saying horrible things and getting their accounts banned for it. Like, don't do that, don't be that person. They're working really hard on it, okay? And it doesn't pay for their life. They have their own life, their own job that they have to go to, so they're doing this in their free time for our entertainment. Just don't be that guy. Don't be the person that tries to make their life worse because you can't play the piece of a video game that they made. Okay, the end of public service announcement. But for this episode, we're gonna do the second mega montage. I've spliced all the recaps together from previous episodes, and I hope that you enjoy it. In episode 24 of Elden Ring, we found ourselves in the High Road Cave after defeating the Guardian Golem and claiming the Blue Dancer Talisman in P22. We immediately began the episode by porting over to Caelid. Once in Caelid, I walked up to Beast Clergyman Garunk and gave him some death root, and he was like, "Oh shit, you got death root? We're best buds now. Have some stuff. I'll give you more stuff if you bring me more of them roots." And we got the Clawmark Seal and a Beast Eye. Following that, we ported over to Fort Faroth and attacked the largest dragon in the game, called Elder Dragon Grail. But don't worry, he can't move and his bodyguards are useless, so all we gotta do is hit him a lot with a bleed weapon, and bam, 96,576 runes if you remembered your gold pickle Foulfoot. And 6 dragon hearts, because his bodyguards also die when you kill him. You'd think that'd be a good motivator. But anyhow, once the dragon and his guard were dispatched, it was back to Limgrave as we ported to the gate front and traveled upwardly west, then horizontally southeast, and entered an Everjail, where we were promptly killed by a Crucible Knight a few times. Having had quite enough of the Crucible Knight shit, we took a note from brave Sir Robin and headed out to find other things. Along the way, we happened upon some poor malformed giants that had to suffer for what the knight had done to my fragile ego. We fooled one into breaking open a statue and grabbed some useless upgrade materials, then did another a bit worse. Then we were a bit better at killing things for a while as we dispatched some dogs and foot soldiers in a nearby camp, then made a Godric knight look silly and opened a box. Thankfully, the box did not contain a head, but instead a Beast Crest heater shield. After that, we ran around in circles, clearing the rest of the camp before following the path west to a little shack and got a War Master Shack Grace, then went inside and talked to said War Master, a man that called himself Bernal. We bought all of Bernal's Ashes of War, Stamp Upward, Cut, Endure, Kick, War Cry, Spinning Slash, Impaling Thrust, Quick Step, Stormblade, Parry, and No Skill because they were needed to make him exhaust his dialogue, which was needed in tangent with making sure it was night and traveling to the Grace we were already at to make a wild bell-bearing hunter appear. Once the bell-bearing hunter was present, we said hello in much the same way two buddies that haven't seen each other for a few years say hello in an old Western movie. We hit him in the face, and he fell like a ton of bread. He killed us twice. So after that bit of fun, we told the BBH that we're sick of his shit too, and wandered back down the trail to the east and a bit north over to the Death Touch Catacombs, where this time the target of our anger was a bunch of skeletons. After some successful forced negotiations, we acquired the Uchigatana, Now the boss. I thought we were in for another tough time as I am terrible at Black Knife Assassins, but this one was very unaggressive and only hit me twice. He actually did fall like a ton of bricks, and that would have been it for the episode. But now that we had acquired the Assassin's Crimson Dagger and brought the episode to a close, a nagging feeling penetrated my mind. The Crucible Knight and the Bell-Bearing Hunter had gotten the better of us, and that will not do. The days of shirking, backing away, succumbing to cowardice are behind us. No part of this overly detailed playthrough henceforth shall be left with a boss met counter higher than a boss kill count. Be it easy or nigh impossible, may I die once or 25 times, all foes shall fall. Aspect of the Crucible tale now belongs to us. Let us see what the Bell-Bearing Hunter has in his pockets. And now that that recap is done, here is a recap of what would have been part 25 because I forgot to turn system sounds back on in my recording software after doing part 24 recap, which is just great. So I started by wandering around aimlessly, then ported to Death Touch Catacombs, wandered around aimlessly a bit more, then tried to save Alexander Warrior Jar, only to realize he was already out of his hole. I then jumped down and grabbed the Saint's Bridge Grace, where I gave a brief explanation of how I get pictures I forget to take. I made a character whose sole purpose is to go to all of the things that I forgot to take a picture of and take a picture of them. That's how come the map has better pictures of the bosses I fought last episode than the thumbnail does, because I walked up to everybody on my other character and did this. And that's a much better picture than taking a picture of the video after I recorded it. Killed the pumpkin head and moved on to the other side, which I realized I'd never done before despite having put 500 plus hours into this game so far. So I talked to the merchant for the very first time and bought the Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 3, Pickled Turtleneck, Poison Bone Arrow Fletched, and Poison Bone Bolt. Well, I don't mind if I do. I won't be making the pickled turtleneck, you're a piece of shit for that, but I'll have the rest. Note on flame chariots. Further details are only available to paying customers. I shall pay them. And a cracked pot. Then killed some graveyard hooligans and moved on to the Summonwater Village outskirts Grace. I wanted to say hi to some turtle bros, but needed to get a stone sword key, so I went on a journey and along the way got some more items. Ash of War ground slam, jump up high into the air, crash down on the ground ahead. The resulting pratfall sends a powerful shockwave in all directions. The Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 5, a Beast Lore Pot. The Armorer's Cookbook 3 allows you to acquire the knowledge to craft the following exalted flesh. Then we successfully bought a stone sword key and went back to say hi to those turtle bros and pick up the green turtle talisman. Turtles are known as nutritious ingredient, symbolic of inexhaustible power. However, those who hold turtles to be wise creatures consider the practice of eating their meat to be barbarous. Then I read the Flame Chariot note, because I decided it was the best time to do so. I didn't forget it or anything. Beware the fire-mong's chariots bearing the faces of giants. A well-aimed blow to the chimney on top may prove effective, but opportunities for a plunging attack will be rare indeed. And then I straight up murdered some fools. Part 25 actually began at the Mistwood outskirts when we traveled to it because we realized there's a little bit more content in Limgrave. So we ran up north a bit to a chunk of Elden Ring debris that had landed itself perfectly so as to make a bridge over a canyon, and talked to the man stood upon it.
Can it fight?
After he had talked about himself plenty, he told us about his problems and asked us to clear out some hooligans at his fort. So after confirming we'd get a reward, we ported to the Fort Height West Grace, then ran up the hill to the very same fort we got half the Dectus medallion at, dodging ballista bolts along the way. Mostly. Once at the fort, we killed another pumpkinhead, picked up the Nomadic Warrior's Cookbook 6, and got shoved in a corner by a knight that quite literally painted the bricks with our blood. So of course we went back in, killed the knight, stole his skill, and told Kenneth of our deeds. He was so pleased he gave us a dagger. The Erdsteel dagger. He gave us a dagger. We told him that wasn't good enough, and he agreed to meet us at his newly liberated fort where he would knight us. He also told us to expect to see civilized demi-humans, which was, well, let's just say it was wishful thinking. And after we saved Kenneth from himself by dispatching the demi-human dissenters, he told us we'll need to find another heir because he isn't worthy, and he can't knight us because he's a disgrace. Poor guy. Anyhow, then it was on to Stormvale, where we killed some Stormhawks, picked up their feathers, and popped a short squad at the Stormvale Cliffside Grace. After putting one more point in intelligence, we tried scaling the side of the castle, which led to picking up the Marge shield, killing some exile soldiers, going inside and killing the first commoners we saw. We're the good guys, getting blown up, grabbing some St. Trina's arrows and getting the drop on a guy, and then getting dropped. And now you're all caught up? We started at 26 by running a small ways up and killing an exile soldier. Then we moved inside and killed a larger exile soldier just before picking up the Hooclaws, rather hesitantly for some reason. Then after killing a few civilians, we're the good guys. We entered a small room where the door was shut on us by Gostok, and we were forced to fight an exiled knight. We were victorious and got the rusty key and the curved sword talisman. Next, we used the rusty key, climbed a ladder and a couple more sets of stairs, it was like they grabbed a silver pickled Foulfoot before being told to get out by a more formidable Windy Knight. We then killed the same exile soldiers we did at the start of P26, but were rewarded this time with an exile hood and exile armor. Huzzah! And then we explored the ramparts a bit more, picked up the brick hammer, and died to the Windy Boy again before picking up a torch pole from the exile soldiers, after killing them again. Then finally we killed a Firebeak Stormhawk, learned how to sleep, killed another grafted Scion, picked up the Highland Axe, and rode an elevator. Then we ended the episode right here at the Rampart Tower Grace that I totally did not forget to mention earlier in the recap. And in part 27, we began by running out north and veering right from the Rampart Tower Grace, dropping onto the rooftops. We climbed up the towers and picked up some exile greaves and the claw talisman. Then after realizing there was no stone key to be found up there, we dropped down a bit and fought a windy soldier and a windy knight simultaneously, died, then came back and killed them, and picked up the Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 10, cause we're all immortal and shit, you know? But they'll be back, cause they're also all immortal and shit, you know? We're locked in eternal combat, like Jack and Barbossa. After that, we dropped down to the courtyard and introduced ourselves to the citizens, then looted all their corpses, which gave us a lot. We're the good guys. But as far as new stuff is concerned, it just meant magic grease and a pike. Then we went inside a little stilted wooden shack by the ramparts and grabbed the wooden great shield. That action was followed up by being killed by an omen who also made a victim of his own dog to get at us. What a shitty person. And then we continued westward into the building leftwise on the map to pick up the Prophecy painting, if that's even its real name. Next, we went a tad north inside the larger side room just outside of the boss fog via the back elevator. There we encountered a sneaky beetle and murderous pots, which we murdered, and from the corpses of our foes, we picked up the Ash of War Stormcaller, a meat dumpling, and a living jar shard. We concluded the day's ventures by talking way too much about ourselves and our troubles, cutting 90% of it out, and then popping a squat at the left side chamber grace. In part 28, we dropped into the basement of Stormveil Castle again and got slapped about by the second ulcerated tree spirit we've fought in the game, then responded by taking a slap and sacrificing our immunity bubble to get the first stone sword key of the video. Worth it. But then we killed the abominable arboreal corruption, traveled a bit further south in the basement, found a dead squid-faced thing. I have no idea what it is, but apparently it is kin, for it dropped a death talisman called the Prince of Death's Pustule, which is gross but useful, just like Radagon's Sword Seal. Then we hooked around back north in the squid room and climbed a very, very tall, very, very stiff rope ladder that went from the bottom of the basement to 20 feet above the ground and dropped us right on the imp statue we needed the stone sword key for. How thoughtful. Inside the room it was guarding, we killed 3 exiles and picked up the iron whetstone, the hawk crest wooden shield, and the misericord. Once that was done, we headed back through the dining hall. We killed the grafted scion in, explored a small larder with surprisingly healthy fruits and veggies in it, then turned around and went to the opposite end of the dining room, got killed by a windy boy, respawned, killed some dogs, and climbed a pile of bodies to get the crimson hood. Then we made the windy boy pay for his transgressions and acquired his halberd and the mimic's veil in a chest he was evidently protecting. Next, we contemplated how we might get to a spot we didn't know how to get to and decided rooftops. We boarded to the Tower Grace and promptly fell to our death because I tried to clear the gap from essentially a standstill, but then we went up to the tippy top where all the small windy boys are and jumped from one tower to another and found the rooftop key we missed in part 27. Then we ported back to the Tower Grace, ran to the tippy top again, jumped down the other side of the Firehawk's roof, and found the drop down for the spot we were interested in. Once there, we received a knock on the door from the side that doesn't open. We answered it, killed the visitor, and stole his gauntlets. Then we turned around and explored the rest of the little area to kill the previous owner and take the pickled turtleneck he apparently had because he's a degenerate, then ended the episode by grabbing the final stone sword key in the castle. And good lord, the map of Stormveil Castle is getting cluttered. Part 29 once again began at the Rampart Tower Grace, where we dropped down to the rooftops again, this time going across the castle eastward, where we picked up the soldier's crossbow, then dropped down to the bluffs below the ramparts to kill some ballista folk and grab the arbalist. After that, we went into the larder, which had a horrible rat infestation. But we managed to get them cleared out after some effort. And picked up the fireproof dried liver, then opened the next imp statue door, which led to the Godslayer seal and the Godskin prayer book. The path, turns out, led to a spot perfect for getting the drop on some more ballista men, one of them quite literally, and another by spells. After clearing them out, we headed into the gateside chamber, where the portcullis is raised and lowered, which had a commoner simple garb, and the gateside chamber grace. Then we found the true guardian of the castle, a giant lion with a knife arm, who told us he likes us by hitting us with it. So we told him we liked him too, then took his blood. Turns out he wasn't so much guarding the castle as a whole, but rather the bridge to the Limgrave Tower specifically. Now that he wasn't guarding it, we moved down the bridge and found the Limgrave Tower Bridge Grace and the Bolt Drake Talisman. Finally, we finished the episode by killing 3 golems further down the bridge, ignoring a teleporter whose purpose is lost on us until we kill Godric, and then realizing there was pretty much nothing to see in the door of the courtyard at the beginning. Part 30 began yet again at the Rampart Tower Grace. From there, yet again, we cleared out the courtyard twice because we got killed by an overgrown buzzard. That's right, that's what I think of you, Firestorm Hawk. But then we picked up our runes and traveled halfway from our Tower Grace to Godric and met another tarnished warrior that we definitely remembered to put on the map before making this video. And when we met this tarnished warrior, she said to us,
I am Nefeli Lu, tarnished and warrior like you. If you intend to challenge Godric, I ask you call upon me.
So feeling good about having a friend to fight with us when the time comes, we set out to our next venture as we continued to clear the castle, starting by porting back to our favorite Grace and running atop the ramparts this time, and then getting blown up by a Stormhawk that wants to be Donkey Kong when he grows up. After we respawned, we killed all the birds, then went to the side of the castle and dropped 3 times, picked up the marred wooden shield. Then we dropped 3 more times, one of those times astoundingly far. Then killed a beetle and picked up the Ash of War Storm Assault. And very shortly after that, we fought another Crucible Knight, and you know what they say about Crucible Knights? The 8th time's the charm. But we got the aspect of the Crucible Horns, and then we sat down at the Rampart Tower Grace yet again. In part 31, for the last time, we began at Rampart Tower Grace, and dropped down to the rooftop. This time dropping off the roof to the left of the courtyard wall. We fought through some windy boys and met a sorcerer named Roger in a church at the end of the road. That sold us some magical Ashes of War, Glintstone Pebble, Carrion Greatsword, and Spinning Weapon. Then we traveled from the Liftside Chamber Grace to Godric's front door, killing a troll along the way. But he wasn't really anything of particularly large consequence, so he's not going to stay on the map. Sorry, Mr. Troll. But then we took a rest at the Godric the Grafted Grace just before grabbing one last thing in the path to the basement that we left behind before fighting Godric. The Manor Tower Shield. Now that the last item got, there were only two things left to do. Summon Nefeli Lu to face Godric, because she's a fellow Tarnished warrior and it's what she wanted, and face Godric. He beat me up once, but I got some good pictures, and then I took the fight seriously and pushed him into half health. At that point, he'd had enough of our shit, so he cut his own arm off, shoved the stub into a dead dragon's neck, ripped its head off, fused with it, and began to breathe fire at us from his arm. He was no longer Godric the Grafted. He had become Godric the Dragon Man. But then Nefeli Lu beat him up. Wait, what? No, seriously though, she's pretty OP summoned for this fight. If you struggle with it, talk to her in that side room before the fight to make her sign appear and summon her for the battle. She will wreck Godric's life. But for Godric's defeat, we got the Great Rune and the Remembrance of the Grafted. And that's about where episode 31 ended. In part 32 of an overly detailed playthrough of Elden Ring, we did a lot of lore-related things, and the recap can legitimately mostly speak for itself, as it was almost all dialogue. So I will just say we read the Axe of Godric and Grafted Dragon descriptions, acquired the Weathered Dagger, read the Litany of Proper Death and Order's Blade descriptions, acquired Heal, Cure Poison, Magic Fortification, Rejection, Catch Flames, Flame Sling, Black Flame Blade, Arsenal Charm, D's Bell-bearing, Twinned Helm, Twinned Armor, Twinned Gauntlets, Twinned Greaves, Golem's Halberd, and finally restored Godric's Great Rune and equipped it. And then I'll just let the NPCs we spoke to speak for themselves, and I'll return shortly. And feed my dog, cause you probably heard him whining. Why, this is a good picture right here. Really stark contrast, that'll be easy to crop.
Your great rune is a handsome shard of the Elden ring.
A remembrance of gold has found its way into your possession.
A plethora of spirits in an unceasing cacophony.
Those eyes tell a story of a challenger who's felled his mark.
Could you please find the owner of this dagger and return it to them?
The Weathered Dagger.
You've met Garang, I take it. I think you've earned this. The power of the Golden Order.
Hello.
I have been waiting for your return. I've decided to leave the Round Table Hold.
What?
That is a work of heresy. Very well. I'll take it off your hands.
Fuck are you looking at? I thought perhaps you had more to say, given that you're all-knowing.
Nefeli Lu, we met at Stormvale.
Yeah, I remember it. It was like an hour ago.
I have something for you.
Have you ever felt the curse? With your whole being? Road is yet long, a god is not easily felled. Those words were not meant for you.
I am Via, deathbed companion.
I have severe ADHD. I'm not going to remember any of that. Goodbye. It's so pretty in here. Holy shit.
Feel it. Feel my bloody wrath.
Part 33 began with and was named the Delve Deep Down We descended into the Cjbeards River via the Cjbeards River well, where our first action was to activate the Cjbeards River well Depth's Grace. After that amazing feat was accomplished, we ran around a bit, collecting a lot of melted mushrooms, dew-kissed herba, and runes as we went until we bumped into a new foe, the Claymen. The Claymen fell very slowly but surely, and once they were thwarted, we stole their oracle bubbles and some more runes, then killed some more of them, and found soap under a waterfall. We then rode another elevator, picked up the preserving boluses, some more melted mush, and beast liver, which I skipped in the original video because I thought we had already read that one, but we didn't. So I'll be reading it, and the map I didn't read today, fought some crabs, and activated the Cjbeards River Bank Grace. Once we'd done all that, we proceeded to explore the wider, open, underground world, beginning with backtracking up a side cliff adjacent to the path we came from. There we found another new foe, the Ancestral Followers. They hit kinda hard, but I hit harder. We grabbed the Armorer's Cookbook 6 and a Great Horn headband that one of the followers dropped. Then turned around and lit a brazier and picked up the map for this place. Finally, we ventured to a couple precarious ledges, and along the way, we picked up the horn bow, got killed by some more ancestral followers, spotted a crucible knight on a faraway platform, and picked up 10 dwelling arrows before going back to the Cjbeards River Bank Grace to have a proper starting point for today. In part 34, we began at the Cjbeards River Bank Grace, traveled north, lit the second beacon of 8, ran from a lightning orb, got killed by a bullman wannabe, lit the third beacon of 8, killed a Miranda Blossom, ran from a lightning orb, killed a different bullman and stole his pants, spoke with the abandoned merchant and grabbed the nomadic warrior's cookbook 17 and 18, the showtell, and 3 stone sword keys, not specifically in that order, there were a bunch of other items between them, but details. Ran from a lightning orb, picked up the dappled cured meat, got killed by bullmen, beelined it for the Worshipper's Woods Grace and activated it, got killed by bullmen, got fed up with bullmen, ran into the teleporter and got ported to the middle plateau of the Cjbeards River. Ran past some Claymen and stole their big bubble. Ran north, ignoring the giant sleeping dragon man, picked up some coagulated ant spit, cause that's much more important. Saw a golden seed down low and turned around cause it wasn't time yet. Killed the Dragonkin soldier in about 24 seconds from first hit to last, and decided that wasn't the best because this is an overly detailed playthrough, and we only showed one move. But what are you gonna do? Then we stole his halberd, went north, decided it was time, and picked up the golden seed, and at this time you think, wait, why isn't that beacon 5 of 8? You're right there. Well, that's because we died again. Then we ran west and lit beacon 5 of 8, afterward showing the troublesome bullmen exactly how fed up we were and lighting beacon 6 of 8, which I definitely didn't forget to label. Then we went north yet again, killed the bullman and stole his shirt, got ticked off at LeVar Burton because he's always sending me Steam notifications while I'm trying to record. God damn it, LeVar, stop playing Warhammer 40k, it's very distracting. Killed a beetle and stole his Ash of War square off, lit beacon 7 of 8, ran even further north, picked up the clarifying horn charm, rode the northern elevator up to Caelid for 2 stone sword keys, said never mind, we shouldn't be here yet, rode the elevator back down, ran south, lit the 8th of 8 beacons, ported to the Worshipper's Woods, ran past elite beacons of the Ancestor Spirit Shrine, touched the dead ancestor, then fought its spirit. It was also a very short boss fight, but thankfully the Ancestor Spirit doesn't have a ton of moves, so I'm pretty sure we still saw all of them. But then that concluded the episode after we looted him for the ancestral follower ashes, and by that I of course mean the Bullman ashes. And that is the end of the second mega recap. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you look forward to the next actual episode, which will be in a week, next Friday, where we'll be venturing into Liurnia of the Lakes after a very brief recap of 35. Take care, everybody. Love you, goodbye!